In an ideal world, Assassin's Creed Shadows would be clowned on. It would be laughed out of the room. It would be a complete failure, a massive flop. This would be for a variety of reasons. The nefarious monetization, the obvious identity politics pandering. Nothing about it is positive, nothing about it is good. There's no redeeming qualities to Assassin's Creed Shadows. Unfortunately, we live in reality, where the bad guys, the villains, often they do win, because the reports coming out of that this game is doing tremendously well already. The pre-order numbers are insanely high, the executives are happy, and you know in 2024, if gaming executives are happy about sales numbers, it's doing really well, because they always seem to have these really unrealistic expectations, not really in reality. So if the execs are happy, Jesus, this is actually shaping up to be a big success, which is very sad. I've spoken before about how I hope this game will be a flop, and I know that was wishful thinking. This is probably going to be another big Assassin's Creed win, despite just how generic, how samey, how bland the series has been for like 10 plus years. But I am going to put my tinfoil hat on, because I've got a theory around this. I think that just about everything that's happened over the last few days has actually played into Ubisoft's hands. They've wanted all this controversy and discussion around the main character, Yasuke, one of the main characters in the title, and I'll speak about my opinion on that. But it seems like it's all been a mixture of great marketing from Ubisoft for why the game has been a success, at least in pre-orders, but also just general corruption within the games industry, especially the gaming media. Because the sad thing is, unless you're actually looking for it, it's hard to find people who are actually shitting on this game, and they should be. The monetization, it's insane. The level it rips you off. There's no gameplay yet. Why are people pre-ordering? You can't even see what you're going to be getting into. It's just all fancy cinematic trailers, a few pictures of samurais and Japanese history around the place. No one should be pre-ordering, and yet it's happening. It's all shaping up to be going very well for Ubisoft. Now, I mentioned the theory on this, why this is all sort of playing into Ubisoft's hands, but I think firstly, it's important that I give my opinion on the whole Yasuke drama. And the reason I want to give that opinion is so it doesn't sound like I'm sitting on the fence. So I find that kind of annoying when people do that. So how I feel about the Yasuke stuff, and the context is, everyone knows about it by now, but you've got two main characters, Yasuke, who is a black character, despite this being set in historical Japan. The second main character appears to be a Japanese female samurai, so you've got the two choices, whether you play as both or you pick one at the start. We'll have to see. Assassin's Creed's done both in various different games. But how I feel about the Yasuke stuff, it's plainly obvious to me that when the creative team was building out this game and planning it, they did not sit there and go, let's find the most fitting samurai we can in history to use in this title. And oh, it just so happens Yasuke lines up with that. How great! I don't think so. What really happened is, before they did anything, they said, we want a person of color to star in this game. Let's go through the history books and find someone who lines up with what we want to do. So they kind of went in with an agenda from the start. And some reports that have come out kind of back that up. There's been ex-Ubisoft employees who've said, hang on, we were actually designing a game with purely Japanese characters, and now they've changed that, and we've got Yasuke, the black samurai. So it's blatantly obvious to me that the creative's first priority was not integrity of the setting. It was just simply, we want a person of color as one of the main characters. Now, they obviously found someone in Japanese history who genuinely existed. They may or may not be a samurai, so they can say, hey, no, it is historically accurate. Look at this book. You can't criticize us because this person exists. If you want to criticize us, it makes you a racist because Yasuke was a real person. And that's how they could kind of get away with this. They know, we know that they purely did this for identity politics reasons, but they can pretend it's always about being historically accurate. We want to tell the story of Yasuke. You don't care about the story of Yasuke. If this person didn't have a particular color of skin, you would not be interested in them. We know exactly what you're doing. Now, that's kind of all I want to say on the Yasuke topic, because I'm not an expert on Japanese history. I see a lot of people on either side of the aisle. Some people saying he definitely was the best assassin ever. Some people saying he wasn't one at all and he was probably a servant. I don't really know which one is true, and I don't want to just jump on one side of that because I know I'd be doing it for biased reasons. I haven't actually done the research and know for sure. I think a lot of people talking about it probably don't know for sure themselves. They're just parroting someone else's opinion. But I don't think it's even really relevant whether he was a samurai or not, because we know Ubisoft's true motivations. I did speak about the creative team specifically when talking about this, not so much senior leadership, because that's actually a separate part to this, and that's where the tinfoil hat theory comes into play. I do think that the reason executives at Ubisoft greenlit this decision and said, yep, it's fine, you can have the Black Samurai in the Japanese game, that's totally fine, because they knew that this would blow up, it would be a massive controversy, but there'd be two sides kind of fighting it out. It's not like a controversy where everyone agrees, such as with scummy microtransactions or like the Helldivers 2 stuff, where it's bad for everyone that you've got to make a PSN account. So everyone's kind of in agreement and they can point the finger that the company is deplorable, essentially. Ubisoft knew it'd be two loud sides fighting it out. There's no real winner in that fight. And then you have the normies who don't really care about the controversy at all. All that happens is more eyeballs are on Assassin's Creed Shadows because so many people are talking about it. A lot of those people who see it, they hear about it, they don't care. They just see, hey, cool samurai game, I'm going to pre-order, even though there's no gameplay. It really seems like that's happened, that all this controversy has only been a good thing for Ubisoft, because we can see here there's a post from, I guess, a reputable insider, and they say Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-orders are looking very strong. I don't have the exact numbers yet, but no one in the know is disappointed with them. So things are going exceptionally well for Ubisoft. There may be controversy, understandable controversy. That's why I didn't want to sit on the fence of it, because I do think the whole thing is stupid. It's obvious that they went for this character for political reasons, but it doesn't really matter because Ubisoft are reaping the benefits of all of this. And I saw some people kind of coping, suggesting, oh, because gamers aren't going to have this, they're going to be upset about Yasuke, no one's going to buy Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft are going to regret this. It is sadly coped. Assassin's Creed, despite how awful it has been in the gameplay department for 10 plus years, it still sells gangbusters. Nothing seems to be stopping that train. It doesn't matter how generic the next title is. It can be an exact copy and paste of the previous one. We've just had Origins, which maybe was a little bit different, but then Odyssey, Valhalla, exactly the same games. They just keep copy and pasting the same formula, and the same idiots keep buying it. Some at full price. Maybe I understand if you're kind of interested in this and you go, I want to play like a samurai Japanese history game. Yeah, I might check it out. Sekiro and Nioh, those sorts of games, they're not so accessible, so they won't give you the same experience. So I'm going to check out the new Assassin's Creed. I kind of get it if you get it for 10, 15 bucks from the bargain bin, or when it's eventually on Steam on a sale there. I could kind of get it at that point. But people are pre-ordering this. They're paying full price for what, mark my words, will be an awful excuse for a video game. You just have to look at the editions that they allow you to choose from. I've spoken about this before, but I can't stop looking at it because it's $190 for the Ultimate Edition. To get the full game with everything they have on offer, it is almost double the price of just buying the base game, the standard edition, which everyone sort of crosses their arms and scowls at you if you buy that edition, because what, are you broke or something? You need to get the fancy edition. In fact, it seems like they don't even care about box copy sales as much anymore. They even want people to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus to play it, which is $24 a month in my country, and some people will see that and think it's an incredible deal. But I'll tell you something about Assassin's Creed. If I dissect every single part of it and how awful it is, this would be a 60-minute video, but I'll pick on one part of it: the length of Assassin's Creed games in 2024. Ignoring last year Mirage, which was like a smaller budget title, the last major games, they've gone upwards of 100 hours to complete. And what is the reason for that? Is it because they want to offer great content to the customers, provide value for money? Of course not. There's a number of reasons. The first one is if the game was too short, then people wouldn't be driven to the microtransaction store as much. Because if you're only playing for 10, 15 hours, that's about the worthwhile content in one of these games. They stretch it out to 100. If it was too short, people wouldn't have as many chances to click on the microtransaction store and buy something. And if you buy a cosmetic, well, it seems like it's better value if you're going to be wearing it for 100 hours versus a short game. So it's one of the reasons to get more of those micro purchases. The second reason is related to that, but it's about the pay-to-win components. So if a game's long, there's more brick walls that can pop up. By brick walls, that means, oh no, this next area is too hard. I need to level up and get stronger. Should I go and do some really generic, boring side quests that are going to make me tear my hair out? Or am I going to jump back on the store, save like 10 hours by buying an XP boost? Because the game is longer, they can keep doing that to you. So 6, 7 different times in the game, you're suddenly at that crossroads of maybe buying some sort of boost. The other reason is because of this subscription itself. If AC Shadows, if it was like 15, 20 hours, then you might think paying $24 a month, that's a decent deal. I can easily beat that within the first month, then I can unsubscribe. I've saved a fair bit of money. I mean, the base game itself is $100, so that's a pretty good deal. But what they know is because the game is so long, you will probably play a bit of it. I challenge Assassin's Creed fans to tell me that when they play one of these games, they just consistently play start to finish without taking sort of breaks, as in playing other games. I don't believe you. I think that you play it for 20, 25 hours, you get bored, and then you think, I'll probably come back to this later. And maybe you do, but you don't just go all in a row, you play Assassin's Creed from start to finish. I don't believe that. I think it's too boring for anyone to do so. Ubisoft know that, so they think you'll subscribe, play it for a few hours, then you'll take a break, and then a lot of people won't unsubscribe because they'll think, I've got unfinished business, I still want to get through the game, I'll leave the sub going because I'm going to come back to it later. And then you never do, or it takes so long that somehow you've been subbed for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And if you don't believe me, just ask yourself, why would they do this then? Why would they put the Ultimate Edition in with Ubisoft Plus if it wasn't a massive profit generator for them? If it was really sort of neither here or there, yeah, if people sub, maybe we make some money, wouldn't they have put the Standard Edition in there? And the Ultimate Edition, you have to buy the Season Pass separately or something like that, so they still make big money. It's because this sub is obviously generating them tons of cash. They want you to sub. They've made it look like the best deal possible because they know so many people, they sub and it's set and forget. They don't unsubscribe because people don't finish their awful games. They think I might come back to it later, so I better keep my sub going. Obviously not everyone, but there's surely plenty of people doing it. That's why they offer this service. I spoke about corruption in this industry, and that just comes into what all of these mainstream outlets are saying, because they're not talking about any of this. The ridiculous, greedy monetization that should be turning everyone off. I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to do this, but it just baffles me that the customer doesn't look at this and go, I'm not seeing fun here. I'm seeing commercial product, zero soul, zero creativity. I'm going to buy something else, because there's plenty of games out there. Even new games, I mean, I use Baldur's Gate 3 as an example because everyone kind of knows about it, but there's plenty of games like that out there, even older games that you've never played before that are heaps of fun and are so much better value than this. But for some reason, all these customers see new shiny thing, I must buy it and consume. Mainstream outlets should be talking about how awful this is, but of course they're not. They're in bed with Ubisoft. I did a search, Assassin's Creed Shadows. What are the first 2 pages of articles that I saw on Google? I've got, why not have actual Japanese samurai? Fans riot over Yasuke, the world's first black samurai. It's basically a political article saying everyone's bad for criticizing Yasuke. This continues. Assassin's Creed doesn't care about historical accuracy. Neither should you. This is what I'm talking about with the big distraction, because Ubisoft are rubbing their hands because no one's calling them out for greedy practices, or at least it's not so vocal. It's being drowned out by the fighting around Yasuke. And this is what Ubisoft want. And these idiots who write these articles, they're loving it too because they love talking about politics and not actually talking about games. They don't know anything about games. They don't care about them. They use these articles as a way to push their own agendas. Racists cry after Ubisoft unveiled Yasuke. People are vandalizing the Wikipedia page for Yasuke as well, and of course it's a biased article suggesting that if you don't believe that Yasuke is the greatest samurai ever, then you're just a racist. And then you get like obvious articles like Assassin's Creed Shadows reveals the contents of its spectacular collector's edition. Little bit different, not political, but shilling for Ubisoft nonetheless. IGN, of course. Let's not pretend we're mad the new Assassin's Creed Shadows Samurai isn't Asian. There's been a couple of times where I thought IGN were maybe in the right direction. Shit like this, they go maybe one step forward and like 10 steps back. Pathetic outlet, never believe that they actually care about the consumer. They only do that when it's convenient because these days they don't get as many benefits from the game publisher, so they have to suck up to the audience a bit more. But they don't care about you, they don't care about us. Fuck IGN. And just coming back to it, my point here really is the Yasuke stuff is extremely annoying. What they've done here, it's just typical in 2024. Game developers, Ubisoft themselves, not caring at all about the integrity of the setting. That's just identity politics, has to be a person of color, don't care about anything else. The history, we're just gonna tinker with it so it lines up with our worldview, essentially. That stuff's all really bad. But just the fact that Ubisoft are winning with this maybe suggests that the way we're trying to get that word out, that Ubisoft are doing a bad thing, maybe people aren't always going about it the best way. I mean, the really critical way is voting with your wallet, of course, not buying this piece of garbage, but also trying to be careful because a lot of people, they just don't care about this controversy. And if they hear about it, it gets these normies' eyes on Assassin's Creed Shadows and they seem to be buying it anyway. Ubisoft are very happy with the pre-order numbers. So it's got to be about the controversy. It's super tedious. But it's also very much this stuff. The game is going to suck. Do not waste your money on it. It is going to be a copy and paste of the last 10 years worth. There's nothing positive here. Play some different games. There's so much that's higher quality out there. So much better. Please give something else a try. Stop being on a friggin' hamster wheel and buy the same thing every year because it's comfortable. Look at the monetization. You're getting ripped off even further every single year. I'm not really bothered by what each person thinks about the Yasuke stuff. I just implore everyone to be aware of how Ubisoft is ripping us all off. If they were failing, that'd be one thing, but they're finding success with this. The Ultimate Edition, $200. Gaming subscriptions that you're going to pay for each month. It's going to keep happening if these games keep succeeding. So I just think if you're criticizing the Yasuke stuff, absolutely do it. I agree with you. But just make sure you're really hitting home as well. You're letting people know that this game's going to be crap. It's soulless. It's a total rip-off, and we can see it firsthand. I hope the tide shifts when it comes out and the actual day one sales numbers are poor. That would be the only justice here. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.